We welcome everyone to the next installment of the Coptic class. We have with us, as always, Dr. Joseph Sidrak, and today we'll be doing the two word verbs. Without further ado, Dr. Sidrak, take over whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you very much, and welcome back, everybody. Let's start off with our prayer here. Switch to the screen share here. Excuse me. Okay, so let's pray together. فنفرعنا من بيوت نبشيري نبدم ثواب ونوتي نوت أمين. جاك نيوت تخلني في قوي معرف توب ونجاك فرعان معرس إين جتك متورو فتح نعط معرف شوبي أم فريتي خانت فاه نمهي جن بكاهي فن أويكن تراستي ميف نانم فو أو كان يتيرو نان إيغول أم فريتي هون أنتن كو إيغول أني أتاون تان إرو أوان برنتنا فون بيرازموس على نحمن إيغول حقيقة هو خن بخريستوس إيسوس بن شويس جاتوك تيمت أورو ننتي قوم ننبيو شاين انتنين تيرامين نفرنا فيوت نمشيري نبدنما ثواب ونوتي نوت Amin. Okay, so we can get started here. So if anyone has any questions, again, at any point, feel free to send them in, but I'm gonna just do a little bit of reviewing from what we did last time. So last time we started with these adjectival prefixes, which are these prefixes that are added to nouns or verbs to kind of alter their meaning, or not alter their meaning, but kind of change a noun into more of an adjective, so to speak. So for example, we talked about la. La, when you prefix it to a noun, it makes it like it's like a large quantity of that thing. So for example, saji, la saji. So someone who's la saji is someone who's very talkative. Someone who's la macht is like has to do with your intestines or your insides. So la macht is glutton. La sovi means to laugh. So la sovi is like someone who's a very funny person or a jester. You can use it for any word, like like you can just theoretically say that to someone who prays a lot. You can say la ishlil, something like that. Even I've never come across that combination, but I mean you can use it. There's no reason why not to. The other prefix is that we took is ot, or oth with a th if it's the next letter is one of the Bilmanor letters, and it means like without or without, or basically the opposite of the meaning. So kati means to understand. So at kati means the opposite of to understand, which is to not understand, or here they put it simply as stupid. Sotem means to listen or hear. So someone who is at sotem is going to be someone who doesn't hear or doesn't listen, or in other words, disobedient. So it's a pretty simple concept. It's the exact opposite of what this is. It's the think of it as like the antonym of that word. Synonym is the same and antonym is the opposite. The owi is a shoe, or basically like a sandal. They didn't have shoes back then. So at the owi means without shoe or without sandal, or in other words, barefoot. The other prefix that we took is er, and we talked about that before. Er comes from iri, which means to do or make. So we talked about atzotem means disobedient. So to do or make or become disobedient, or in other words, to disobey. So it turns that that adjective into a verb. So if you're talking about if you have kids or a brother or something or that was bad, you could say Inthof af atzotem. That means he disobeyed. Mit is a prefix that's added to indicate a state or condition of something. Like someone who is an at'emi, so emi means to know, so at'emi means to not know, or in other words, be ignorant. So mit at'emi is a state of ignorance. Atzotem means to disobey. Mit atzotem is kind of the state or condition of disobedience. So that's what mit means. It basically turns into the state or condition of whatever that adjectival noun is. Ish, when ish is included, ish means to be able to. So tahof means to be able to kind of comprehend or attain or reach something. So ish tahof is to be able to comprehend or reach something. So at ish tahof is to be unable to reach or comprehend something. In other words, incomprehensible. Chetchot means to search or question something. Chetchot means to search or question him or it. So with esh, it means to be able to search or question. So with at means to not be able to question it, or in other words, unquestioning, etc. So you can just take it piece by piece by piece, and you can see you just break it up, and you know each little part. You can make a wide variety of words and understand a wide variety of words. Similarly, shu. Shu means to deserve or be worthy of. So tayo means to give honor, and it has a third person singular suffix. So to give honor to him or it. So you could say shu tayof means deserving of giving it or him honor. Menerit means to love. So you can say like Jesus is shu menerit Isos u shu menerit pe. So Jesus deserves to be loved, for example. Or shu ereshfiri emmof. Ereshfiri is like a wonder or a miracle. Ereshfiri is to be like wondrous, and to be wondrous of what the direct object, to be wondrous of him. So to be able to be wondrous of, or in other words, admirable or amazing. So that's kind of just a brief 8-minute summary of what we took last time. And today, we're going to be reviewing these so-called two-word verbs, or which we've already taken some examples of these. We've already talked about it a little bit. So basically, they've got a couple of different types here and there, describing these two-word verbs when the verb has evol. So evol, remember we talked about before, I think a few times probably. Evol comes from two parts, e and vol. So the e means to or towards, and vol means out. So you're going towards the direction of out, or in other words, like away. So that's what evol means. So e evol, remember e means to come. So to come, to out. So to come out. T means to give. To give, to out. This is kind of an idiom. An idiom is when you have kind of something that means something different than what it literally says. So in this case, it means to give out or to give away, but it really means to sell. So you'll see ti evol used whenever there's somebody talking about selling something. Ko evol, we've talked about several times, so it's a little bit easier. Ko means to put or place. To out or away. So to put away. Or in other words, when it's used in the religious sense, it means to forget. Ini. Ini means to bring. Evol. And again, some of these, some of these may have clear examples, but some of them, it doesn't quite make as much sense when you break it down literally like that. But we do know like that these usages are, these certain instances are used a lot. So ini evol means to bring. Vol means to like dissolve or break or take apart, loosen, basically just kind of dismantling something. So dismantling evol. So here they say to solve. But it's used in a wide variety of meanings actually. Like even you say to like untie your sandals, like you say vol and e. So owi evol. So this means to vol means to loosen the sandal, to away, or basically like to untie your sandals or take off your sandals. In other instances, you can take off vol, evol. I've seen this used to describe somebody who fainted or passed out. So it's got a vol, evol has a wide variety of usages. It also means when something got destroyed or fallen apart. So there's a lot of different things, but it's usually something that's kind of taking things apart, that kind of overall concept, as opposed to putting things together. Gok evol. We probably hear this very commonly in the liturgy, like in the hymn, like Epi the choice, when the priest says the commemoration of Gok evol chenef nahti. Gok means to complete or finish, and so to complete or finish, evol means, you think of it as kind of like completely, or so, so to completely finish or to complete. Osh evol. Osh means to cry or scream, like not cry with tears, but to like loud, like a loud voice. So osh evol means to cry or scream out or scream out. Osh by itself, can mean to read also. It can also mean to make a promise, but osh evol means to cry or scream outwards. Gor evol, from like the hymn Ab Uru. Gor means to spread or disperse, and then evol, away or out, so spread out or spread away, scatter something. Moon means to continue. Moon evol, it's kind of like gok evol, complete, or finish something completely. So this is kind of to continue completely, or to like, to continue to its fullness. Like Munav will continue. Okay. Another example of these is using the word insa. We took insa before, means after or behind. So taking some examples here, moshi insa. Moshi means to walk, and then sa means after or behind. So in other words, moshi insa means to walk behind, pursue, follow, etc. Saji insa. Insa means, again, behind, so to speak behind or to speak after, or in other words, to speak against somebody. Wah insa or wah insa. Wah means to add something, or to be, kind of like to be, to be added to something. So in some cases, you'll see it in the Bible. You can say afwah and sof. Like for example, afwah and sof. So that means he added himself behind him, or in other words, he followed him. It's like when people followed Jesus or something. He added himself behind him or after him. So that's why they say it also means to follow, but it's a little different sense of to follow, whereas this is kind of like a walking. This is kind of more of like like a philosophical kind of thing, or like joining somebody, as opposed to the physical act of walking or pursuing after somebody. So Tim in saw. So that means to listen after, or to listen behind, or in other words, to obey. Op in saw. Op is also another word of meaning to be to add, but specifically op in saw is used to mean to be engaged. For example, when they talk about Saint Mary in some of the hymns, they say of open source. Of open source. And then it says Anje Yusuf Idikeos. Open source. He added behind her, namely Joseph the Righteous. In other words, that this is an idiom, which an idiom is like a two-word verb that, when taken literally, means to add behind, but when you understand it idiomatically. Or in other words, you understand it means to be engaged. So that's what an idiom is. So this is kind of an idiomatic sense. So, but it means he was engaged to her, namely Joseph the Righteous. Koti and saw. So everybody knows him like I koti and sok. Koti means to turn. It also can mean like a wheel, when it's used in that sense, but it means to turn. So to turn behind, or in other words, to seek after. So you go from one way and you turn to the other way. So that's why it says I koti and sok kind of shokam bahit. From the Sunday Psalm. I koti and sok. Kind of shok and bahit. So I turned behind you, or in other words, I sought after you. Chen, in, at, by, from. Ibshok. Ibshok means the bottom part, or in other words, the depth. Em pahit, of my heart. Okay. And there's a little bit of vocabulary here that we can take as well. So this prefix, tir means all. And then just like with those other things that we talked about, if you just change the suffix pronoun, it changes the, what you're talking about. So, remember from various things to say, anon, tiren, piklaos. Anon, not anon, sorry. Okay. So anon means, it's the pronoun meaning us. Tiren, so tir means all. And this means us, because again, it's the first person singular. So all of us, comma, the cha is almost like a comma. All of us, comma, your people, comma, and it continues. In the litany of the gospel, it says, "Je'ento kuhar pen on chetiro, nem pen ogai tiro, nem ten helpis tiro, nem pen talcho tiro, nem ten anastasis tiren." So, we see it's used quite a bit. So you're going to see tiro and tir and tirs. You're going to see all these ones quite a bit. You're going to see tir. You're going to see tir, tirs, tiren, and tiro. You'll almost never see tirt. You'll almost never see tirt, tir, or theoretically, they don't even include the feminine one, but it would be tiri with a iota. They don't even include it here because I can't remember ever seeing those three in any written form. So I don't know if it's ever really used or not, but you probably could use it. You can say like enoktirt or entoktir. But again, I've never really come across it in any literature. But tir, tirs, tiren, and tiro, like ni ethnos tiro. Everyone knows the hymn ni ethnos tiro from Psalm 116. You'll see it a lot. So, but it basically means all. All of her or all of it, all of him or all of it, all of us, all of you. And the thing about tiro, it's kind of weird because there's no like tir fino or tir 10, but this one is used for both the second and third person plural. So it's kind of a weird thing. It's a weird caveat, but that's the tiro is used for both second and third person plural. So we just have a few more vocabulary words here to take. So shok, we just talked about. Shok means the depth or the bottom or the deep part. Ismi means a voice or a sound. Hob niven means every. Hob means an act or a work, so every act or work. Or in other words, act or work. So in other words, it means every act or work or everything. In here, hob niven, everything. Of ko remember means to put or place. So of ko, they put or placed, hob niven. So they put or placed everything. But really, if you want to say they left everything, say of ko and hob niven. To make it more clear, I would probably put in so after means after or behind them. So they put or placed everything behind them, or basically they left everything behind. Shvir means friend, not to be confused with shviri, which we talked about a little bit earlier. It's like a wonder or a miracle. Because we say about Jesus, he said of iri and hanashviri. That means he performed wonders. Shviri means wonders or miracles. So look, if he's a shviri with a shvir, which is friend. A shviri is wonder or miracle, and a shvir means friend. Ti esmi and nuti. So nuti means God. Ti esmi and nuti we took over here. Esmi means the voice or sound. So the voice or sound of God, or the godly voice. We talked about over here. Hob niven. Niven means every. So u'un means person. So u'un niven means every person or everyone. Okay. So let's take some of these exercises here. So we're still should be working on last week's homework assignment. So I'm not going to give this as a new one, but we can go through some of these. Okay. So we know this hymn from Tazbaha. Tanawi Hinsok, Hanpenhi Tir. So wa insok means to add behind. So this is the first person plural of the present tense. So we add behind you, because it's, remember we talked about the preposition, adjectival, we talked about the prepositions that you can conjugate. In soy, in sok, in so, in sok, in sos, and so on, in satino, and in so. So here we've got the second person singular masculine suffix. In other words, meaning you masculine singular. So we add after you or behind you. Chen, in. Our, pin is the possessive adjective for our. Heat is heart. And tir, remember we just talked about tir. Tir means all. And again, the suffix, third person singular masculine. All of him or it. This him or it is referring to this. So we add behind you, in our heart, all of it. So that's why we say we follow you with our whole heart, or we follow you with our entire heart. I koti and sok, we already talked about a little bit. So I koti and sok means to turn after or to follow. And this is the past tense, singular. So I koti and sok, so I followed you or sought behind you or sought after you. Chen, in. Ibshok, the deep part. Em, pahit, of my heart. Af sotem, sotem means to hear or listen. So he heard after. Ti ismi and noti, the divine voice or the godly voice. So he listened to the divine voice. Of ko means to put or place, like we talked about. So they put or placed in hobniven, everything, every act or every work, literally. So they put every work or act of Moshi and Sof. They walked behind him or they followed him. So basically means they left everything and they followed him. There's no and here, but in Coptic sometimes they'll have these almost like run-on sentences, but it's understood as and. So they left everything and they followed him. So probably talking about the disciples when they put everything and followed Jesus. Imper is the negative of the imperative. So it means do not. So if you say saji, saji means speak, that's imperative, but if you want to make the negative of the imperative, or don't speak, you prefix with imper. So you can say imper moshi, imper saji, imper imper I, imper osh evol. That doesn't change at all. This just means do not. So do not, saji and sa, speak after, or another words like speak about or talk about. Pick a shvir. Shvir, remember, means friend, your friend. So do not speak about or speak after your friend. Chen, with. Han, remember, it's the plural and definite article. Some. Peta'u. Peta'u means evil things. So do not speak after your friend with evil things. Okay. So that's kind of today's lessons in a nutshell. Hopefully everybody's continuing to enjoy this class and kind of learn things, and hopefully appreciating it more and more. Because now that we're pretty much done with most of the basic grammar, there's still a little bit more of the basic stuff. I think we've got 6 more lessons before we wrap up the book. Then we would have covered a vast majority of things. Then beyond that, it's just going to be really kind of locking it in and kind of reviewing it and repetition. And that'll be what we're going to be doing the 3rd year. A lot of translating and kind of going through stuff to really let everything start to sink in. But the more you work on it now, the better. But anyway, so if there's any questions about the last few lessons or anything in Coptic for that matter, go ahead and send it in. Otherwise, I'm going to switch, and so I've got here, I've just go to the tizbah.org, and I just decided to pull up something. Again, last few times we've been doing, or the last few semesters we've been translating the Bible readings, but I figured this semester we'll try something different. We'll do some liturgical type things. In this case, one of the Lent doxologies. So this is the Lent doxology here. So I just figured we would translate it together and kind of point out some of the things that we have come across. Okay. So again, if you have any questions at any point, feel free just to send in the questions or comments. And if there's anything that you guys would like to change or like to do differently, any kind of comments are much appreciated. So Nick Nai means mercy. Nick is the second person, singular masculine, plural possessive adjective. This is Nick instead of pick. So Nick Nai, so your mercies, plural. O is the vocative, O. Pa, choice. Choice means Lord or master. Pa, choice means, again, it's a singular possessive adjective. So your mercies, O my Lord. Ti na hos. Hos means to sing. Ti na is the future tense, first person. So your mercies, O my Lord, I will sing. Emmo, then. That's the direct object. Sha means to or until. Ine means ever or eternity. So until eternity, or in other words, forever. Ente of pi ine, the eternity. So this basically means like forever and ever is the best way to think of it. So your mercies, O my Lord, I will sing them forever and ever. And owo isjen. Isjen means from. Either from, like, starting from like from a location, or starting from a point. So it's, and you can say like from a point, ga'u means generation. So from generation, sha ga'u, to generation. So from the, from this point, ga'u, to the other point, ga'u. So from generation to generation. Ti na go, go means to speak. Also, it can sometimes, depending on the context, can also mean to sing. Go. So I will. We talk about tina. It's a future tense. Tina go. I will speak or say. And tik with me. Okay, me means truth or something that's true. Myth me. Remember we talked about myth or myth today. It means a state or condition of being true. So myth me is truth. Okay. Truth or righteousness or uprightness, kind of like that kind of good quality. Tik with me. So I mean that's a possessive, feminine possessive adjective with the second person singular masculine suffix. So I will speak or say of your truths. Chin roy. Roy means my mouth. So again, ro means mouth, and roy, it goes in those same conjugation pattern that we talked about over and over again. Roy, rok, ro, rok, ros, ron, roten, ro. So here, roy is the first person singular. So putting it all together, your mercies, O my Lord, I will sing them forever and ever. And from generation to generation, I will say your truths in my mouth. Anomeia is the Greek word for lawlessness or lawless deeds. So nomos means law. So anomeia means without law or my lawlessness. So na anomeia, my lawlessness. Avachisi, chisi means to raise or hire something. So avachisi. So my lawlessness or my bad deeds, basically, avachisi became higher. This is kind of like used when you're comparing one thing to another. So they've become higher than what? This means that if means to or towards, but in this sense it's showing a comparison. So we know that the higher, so it's going to be higher than what? It's higher than whatever's following. Ta afe. Afe means head. Ta afe means my head. So my lawlessness or my lawless deeds have become higher than my head. So in other words, basically saying very simple. Owo and of ehrosh. Ehrosh means to be heavy. So and they became heavy. Ehri egoi. Remember ehri egoi we talked about. Ehri means upon, or it's a directional adverb meaning to or towards an upwards direction. Egoi, my head. Remember, egoi, ego, 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 egos, egon, egentino, egoten. So egoi is the first one. So my lawless deeds have become higher than my head, and and they became heavy upon me. If naughty, God, sotem, listen, to, my, fiahom means to groan or to sigh, or it's kind of like more of like a groaning, like yeah, it basically means like to groan. So God, hear my groaning. He means to cast or throw. Emma'u, them. the direct object. Direct object receives the function of the verb. So he owi ema'u. Evol haroi. We talked about evol haroi. It's one of those prepositions we talked about. To, away from me. So cast them away from me. So God, hear my sigh or hear my groaning and cast them away from me. Arit. So remember we talked about iri. Let's see, we still have it here. So iri means to do or make, but has different forms. Ari owi is the imperative. Iri is just the normal transitive form. I is the this is the pre-nominal, pre-pronominal. But ari owi is imperative, but these forms they're not imperative. But if you have like an imperative that is this is kind of just a general imperative, like do this. It doesn't have a person that you're speaking to. But if you want to say like to do something, you say read, and then you put where this dash is, you put the suffix pronoun. So to do what? Arit. If you put a T, it's going to be make me. Aritk, make you. Ariti is going to make you female. Arit, make him. Aritz, make her. Aritan, make us. Arit, probably Arioithino is probably going to be the second person plural. I've never actually come across that one, but I'm assuming that's what it would be. And then arito. Arito means make them. Okay. So it's the imperative form instead of a general imperative, it's specific to whatever is the suffix pronoun. So back here again. So arit. So to do or make me. So arit. So it's not ariti. I know that there's one of the hymns where people are saying ariti and mufriti, but it's really not ariti. It's just arit. Mfriti. Ariti means in the manner, or in other words, make me like P. Telonis. Telonis is the tax collector. So make me like the tax collector. Phi, the further demonstrative, so it means that. It, the relative, which. Phi it, so that which. Off, past tense. To do or make. Novi, sin. That which he made sin to you. Or in other words, that which he sinned against you. So make me like the tax collector, he who sinned against you. Ak shenhit. Shenhit means have compassion. So you had compassion. Ahri egof, just like we talked about ahri egoi. So you had compassion upon him. Ak ke, you put. Nifnovi, his sins for him. Indirect object. You put his sins for him away. You forgave his sins. So put it all together. Make me like the tax collector, he who sinned against you. You had compassion upon him. You forgave his sins. Same thing, arit, emifriti, same exact thing. And ti porni, porni means the adulteress. So make me like the adulteress. Fi it, so it's the further demonstrative, but it's the feminine one now. So that which, aksoti, soti means to save. Immos, the direct object, I should say. That which you saved. From. That which you saved from. So, make me like the adulteress, that which you saved. Aktunos. Tunos means to raise up. So you raised up. Nohem is another way of saying to save. You saved her. So you raised and you saved her. Je, because. As ranak and pekemfu. So ran means to please. So it's the same thing. Ranay, ranak, ran, rana, ranaf, ranas, ranan, rantino, and rana. So she pleased you and pekemfu before you. So she pleased you before you. So putting it all together, make me like the adulteress, that which you saved. You raised, you saved her, because she pleased you before you. Next one, Arit, make me an Afriti like P Soni. Soni means the thief. So make me like the thief. Further demonstrative with the relative, that which of Ash, they, Ash means to hang him. That which they hung him in Sa. Sa, again, like we talked about, means like at or behind. Or in this instance, it's kind of more like next to. In Sa, Tik Owinam. Owinam is like in Arabic, Yamin means Arabic. It means right. So your right, or your right hand. There's no word hand in there, but it's just your right side. So make me like the thief, that which they hung at your right. Of homologin. Homologin is the Greek word to confess. So he, homologin, is to make, or he confessed. It turns this noun into a compound verb now. So he confessed emokyu, empiriti, in this manner. So riti, emifriti is just in the manner. Empiriti means in this manner. So he confessed you in this manner. If go emos. We didn't take this this tense yet, but it's but you can think of it as kind of like the third present, but we'll talk about it later. So he confessed you in this manner, Goemos, saying this. This is her, but again, there's no her, it's this. So he confessed you in this manner, saying this. Je, open quotation mark, Ari, to do or make, the imperative. Do or make, Pa maybe, my thought. So remember we talked about make my thought, that means to remember me. So Ari pa maybe, remember, it's Pa maybe, so it's my thought. So remember me. So make my thought, oh my Lord. That choice. Ari pa maybe, make my thought, oh Panoti, my God. Make my thought, oh Pauru, my king. Akshen I as the conditional, we didn't take it, but it means on the condition that. Akshan means on the condition of something. So what's the something? E. So on the condition that you come, khen, your, tik. Khen means in, tik means your, mit uru. Uru is king. Mit uru means the state or quality of a king, or in other words, kingdom or kingship. So your kingdom or your kingship. So when you come into your kingdom or your kingship. So putting it all together, remember remember me, O my Lord, remember me, O my God, remember me, O my King, on the condition that you come into your kingdom or kingship. Or in other words, when you come into your kingdom. In Thok, the is the Greek particle meaning but or and. So, but you, O Pasotir, my Savior. Ak shop means to receive or accept. Erok, to you. You accepted or received to you. And tif homologeia. Homologeia again comes from homologene, confession. So you accepted unto you his confession. Ak shinhit, we talked about shinhit already, to have compassion. You had compassion. Ahri igof, to or towards his head, or in other words, upon him. Af uorpif. I think this is a typo on my, it's probably ak uorpif with a kappa. So I think it's ak uorpif. Uorp means to send or deliver. So I think this is a kappa, not a phi. So you sent him to or towards pi paradisos, to paradise. You know, obviously paradisos is the Greek word for paradise. So, and you, O my Savior, you received to you his confession. You had compassion upon him. You sent him to paradise. Enokho chapiref enovi. So me also, remember we talked about ho, hok, hoi, hok, hos, hon, hotin, ho. So it means also. So I also. Remember cha, it's kind of like the comma we talked about earlier today. So I also, comma, piref ernovi, the sinner. We talked about piref ernovi. So I also, comma, the sinner, comma. So I also, comma, the sinner, comma, or me also, yes. Isos penoti, Jesus, my God. Pauru, my king, and me. We're talking about me means true or right. So my true king. So I also, comma, the sinner, comma, Jesus, my God. Jesus is my true God. Shanahthi, remember we talked about shenhit. This is a conjugated form of shenhit, but it's imperative. Shanahthi. So you have compassion. Again, ahri egoi, we see ahri egoi over and over again. To or towards my head, or on my behalf, or on me. So have compassion upon me. So I also, comma, the sinner, comma, Jesus my God, my true King, have compassion upon me. Arit, make me, and mefriti, like. Uwai means one. And paitai, I remember, it's the not the near demonstrative. I can't think of the exact word, but it means like these. So make me like one of these. And who are the these? It's talking about the people we just talked about. The thief, the adulteress, the tax collector. So I also, comma, the sinner, comma, Jesus my God, my true King, have compassion upon me, like one, make me like one of these. Let's see, we'll do maybe like one more verse here, then we'll stop. Ti sa'un, sa'un means to know. So ti sa'un, I know, this is simple present tense. Je, I know that. Inthok, you. U agathos. Agathos is the Greek word meaning good. U is the singular indefinite article. You can imagine that there is pe after this, but you don't always have to have the pe. So you can say Tisa unja and toku agathos pe, but you don't have to have the pe. It has the same meaning. So I know that you are a good, or I know that you are good. In the rif heat, remember we talked about rif? Rif means a doer of something. We talked about that, I think, 2 weeks ago. So rif heat, so doer of compassion. So I know that you are a good, or you are good. And compassionate, because you're a doer of compassion. So I know that you are good and compassionate. Owo in na'it. Na'it means merciful. Or na means great, and eat from heart, great-hearted. So a great heart. Or in other words, merciful. So it's kind of just a lot of things like saying compassion and mercy. So I know that you are good, compassionate, and merciful. Hari pamevi, make my thought, remember me. Chen piknan, in your mercy, or with your mercy. Sha'ene into pi'ene. We took that one already. Until ever, or until eternity, and the eternity. So forever and ever. I guess we've got a couple minutes. I guess that one went by pretty fast, so we can do one last verse, okay? Ti tov. Tov means to ask. So ti tov emok, I ask you. O peshois, O my Lord Jesus. Isos. Imper, remember we talked about imper means do not. It's the negative imperative. Do not. Sohi means to punish or discipline. So do not punish or discipline immoy, me. Chenpeg gont. Gont means anger. So do not punish me in your anger. I ask you, O my Lord, Jesus, do not punish me in your anger. Ode is the Greek word meaning neither or nor. Neither, and then on means also. Neither also. Chen, in. Pik imvon means like you're, again, also similar to like your wrath or your anger. So neither also in your wrath or your anger. Emper, ti isvo, so do not. Ti isvo. Ti isvo means to give wisdom. And ta, my. Ta means my, because it's an adjective. Mit, at any. At any means to not know. Mit at any is a state of not knowing. So do not give wisdom to my state of not knowing. And it's not saying like leave me in a not knowing way, or like leave me in ignorance. But ti isvo means kind of to like give, you know, like to like teach in like a painful way or something, you know, like you're kind of like disciplining in a disciplinary way. So do not teach me in a disciplinary way my ignorance, if that makes sense. And perti isvo and you know, basically it's like you know, it's kind of difficult to explain, but let me see the way they phrased it here in the English. Yeah, I mean, here they have it as chasten, so that's one way to think of it. And it's kind of like, you know, they changed it a little bit in the English here to make it make more sense. But this is the concept that the Coptic is trying to say. So do not chasten me. Do not chasten my ignorance. Basically, is kind of the best way to say it. Something like that. Okay. But I guess that's it. So any questions or anything? If not, you know, please make sure you finish your homeworks and turn them in, and should be due, I think, next week. So just double check the date and everything online. And if there's no questions, then we can conclude with our concluding prayer. Any questions, Bishoy, or no?
No, I don't think there are any questions for today, Joe. Thank you so much. We could go ahead and end up with prayer.
Great, then let's pray together. And if run with you, and if Shiri, and if Nim with Web, ونوتي نوت أمين. جيب نيوت تخني في قوي معرف توفون جيب كران معرف إين جتك متورو تيت هناك معرف شوبي أما فريتي خنت فاه نمهي جنبي كاهي بن أويك انترستي نيف نانم فاو وو كان يتيرو نان إيفول أما فريتي هون انتنكو إيفول أني يتأوون انتان إرو وو هم برنت نكون بيرازموس الله نحمين إيفول هابي بتهو خن بخريستوس إيسوس بنشويس جيثوك تتمتورو ننتيقوم ننبيعو شاينين تنينه تيرو أمين خنفران مفيوت نمبشيري نمببنم مثواب ونوتي نوت أمين. Okay, everybody, have a good night, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.